Hello and welcome to this session on data pre-processing. In this session, we are going to have a brief introduction about data pre-processing. So what is data pre-processing? So data pre-processing is a technique by which we can convert our raw data into an understandable format. So usually when we get a data, that data might not be well structured, data might have a lot of redundant values, data might be having missing values, it might have some noise and all. So now what we need to do for those data is we need to clean that data. So once we clean the data, then we have to transform that data to a quality data format. So this process is called as data preparation format. So once we prepare the data, then we can use data mining techniques or statistical techniques to understand patterns within the data, and then we can evaluate the data. So for preparation of data, we do data pre-processing. So why do we need data pre-processing? So data in the real world is dirty. So mostly like whenever we get any real-time data, it will be dirty. It will have a lot of problems within that. So first is like it might be incomplete. So incomplete data means lacking certain values, lacking attribute values, like lacking certain attributes of interest or containing only aggregated data. So example is suppose there is a attribute occupation, and within that suppose it's a important data but occupation is blank. Suppose there is no data within that. So it's like an incomplete data. So it's not complete. So similarly, the other one is noisy data. Noisy data means data might have noise. That means it might have errors. It might have outliers, like values which are very different, values which are very unique from the actual cluster of data or group of data. Like salary. Like here there is an example of salary. Salary minus 10, a negative salary. So this might be an outlier, or this might be some redundant data, or this might be an error. So this kind of data can be termed as noisy data. So in real world data, we might face this kind of situation where we see incomplete data or noisy data, as well as inconsistent data. Inconsistent means containing discrepancies in codes or names. Like suppose if you take the example of age equal to 42 and birthday is 3/7/1997. So it's like both of the datas are very inconsistent. Like we can say that same kind of information is there in birthday or age. So I can get the age information from the birthday itself, or I don't need the birthday if I have the age information. So it's like discrepancy is there within the data. Similarly, rating of data, like earlier suppose rating is 1 2 3, now rating has changed to ABC, then that also can fall to inconsistent data. Discrepancy between duplicate records. uh, Most of the times in data set we also see that we have duplicated records, like records being repeated multiple times. That can also lead to inconsistent data. So also some of the other problems are incomplete data, like mostly like we just saw these are the major problems: incomplete, noisy, and inconsistent. So incomplete data may come from not applicable data value when collected. So mostly like whenever we are collecting a data, most of the data sometimes some fields might be not applicable, like unimportant columns, like like the values or attributes which are not important. People usually don't fill up those. Suppose there is a survey and or there is a form, somebody is filling the form. If the attribute is not mandatory, people will actually leave that, so it will be not applicable kind of attribute. So that's where like we also get incomplete data. And different considerations between the time when the data was collected and when it is analyzed. Sometimes also like if we don't consider the time properly, like data might be collected a year back and we are trying to analyze it now, so it might be incomplete, might not have the new information which we need. So that also can tend to incomplete data. Or sometimes the incomplete data can also arise from human or hardware or software problems. Like there is a software problem, it is not able to record, then it can also tend to incomplete data. So these are the reasons for which we might get incomplete data. Similarly, if we see noisy data are like incorrect values. Like this may come from faulty data collection, like fault instruments, like instrument is having some problem and it collected some faulty values. So that can also tend to noisy data. Human or computer error at data entry. Suppose somebody is entering, like somebody is doing a data entry, and that guy by mistake made some error, like while entering the data. So that also might be a problem, like which can tend to noisy data. Then errors in data transmission. Suppose we are transmitting the data from some source, and that also might give some error while transmitting, then that can also tend to noisy data. So these are few of the reasons for which like we can get into noisy data. The next is inconsistent data. Inconsistent data may come from different data sources. Like what happens is like when we get data, usually like we might try to collect data from multiple sources. And when we are collecting data from multiple sources, there might be some inconsistency within the data. Like might be like few of the attributes might not match, or few of the things might miss from one data to the other, or like they might have different values, so that may lead to inconsistent data. Then functional dependency violation, that is also one bigger problem, like some because of some violation, some dependency has been changed, like modify some linked data, so there is a link between the data but that has been modified while collecting the data, so this can also tend to inconsistent data. The other one is duplicate records. Duplicate records also needs to be cleaned. Most of the data sets, we also see that there might be duplicated records, like records being repeated multiple times. That also needs to be cleaned. So these are few of the reasons for data pre-processing, and few of the reasons which causes this kind of problems, for which we need data pre-processing. So now, how do we decide if a data is quality data or not? So data pre-processing is done so that we can convert our data to a quality data. So how do we measure this quality data? So a multi-dimensional view for this would be like the data should be accurate. It should have a good accuracy. That means like it should have correct or wrong, accurate or not. That's what we have to figure out. So it should be accurate. Like the data what we select, it should have accurate information within that. The next one is completeness. It should not like not recorded or unavailable data should not be there. So it should be a complete data. So we should not say okay, like most of the things are unavailable, so we are not able to collect the data. So whatever data we are collecting, we have to make sure that it is complete and should be consistent. Some modified, but some not, can tend to inconsistency. So it should be consistent. And timeliness is one important thing. Like timely update of data is important. If the data is having all the important things and all the new values are there, like with respect to time, so it should be updated records. So that's what timeliness means. So it should be a updated data. Next is believability. Like how trustable the data are. Like is it correct or not? Like how like can we trust the data? So that's what believability comes into picture. So believability also defines if the data is quality data or not. Then interpretability, that is how easily the data can be understood. Like can we interpret the data? Can we understand the values? Can we understand the attributes which are there within the data? So that's what makes the data interpretability. So these all factors will tell us if the data is of good quality or not. So data should be accurate. Accuracy is one of the factor which can tell like if the data is good or not. So this is a measure for data quality. The other one is completeness, then consistency, then timeliness, then believability, and then interpretability. So what are the major tasks in data pre-processing? So few of the major tasks are like data cleaning, data integration, data transformation, data reduction, and data discretization. Now data cleaning is like filling in missing values, like smoothing noisy data, identifying or removing outliers, resolving inconsistency within the data. So that all comes under data cleaning process. So initially when we get data, there it might be having some missing values within that. So we have to fill up those values by using certain strategies. We'll be looking into those, like what are those strategies by which we can fill up the missing value. Then noisy data, smoothing noisy data. If we have noise within the data, we have to smooth it up. Identifying or removing outliers. Outliers, if there is any outliers, we have to remove those, or we have to consider it based on the type of study we are doing. We have to identify if there is any outlier within the data. If needed, we have to remove the outliers and resolve inconsistencies within the data. If the data is inconsistent, we have to resolve those inconsistencies. Now the next one is data integration. So while we are integrating data from multiple databases, like how do we integrate? How do we collect data from multiple sources? And then what are the steps so that we can combine the data and make it one generic set? So that's what, like, data integration is also one of the important thing, like where we have to look into a lot of things. Like while we are doing data integration, we might get into a lot of problems, like duplicated records, or there might be inconsistent values, there might be some values which is not matching. So those things also we have to see. So data integration is one major task in data pre-processing. The other one is data transformation. Data transformation is nothing but transforming data to a particular format which can be understood by the computer easily. That is, like, it should be properly and well organized format, that is like normalizing the data or aggregation. Data aggregation normalization falls into this. So we'll see various steps which are there for normalization of data and how do we aggregate the data. The next one is data reduction. That is obtains reduced representation in volume but produces the same or similar analytical results. So there are a lot of reduction techniques which are there, like through which we can reduce the size of the data. So it's like data compression or data reduction we can do. So data compression techniques are there. There are data reduction techniques like dimensionality reduction, numerosity reduction. So using those things, we can reduce the size of the data so that data can be processed easily. Next is data discretization. That is like part of data reduction, but with particular importance, especially for numerical data. So it's like grouping the data together based on certain measurements and all. So that is data discretization. So it's also part of data reduction, where we give importance to few of the things, a few of the parameters within the data, and we try to discretize the data. So to achieve this data quality, how do we achieve this data quality? How do we get a good quality data? So first we have to understand what kind of data quality problems are there within a data. So whenever we get a data set, first thing is to analyze that and understand that what kind of problems are there. Like whenever we get any kind of data. And we also have to know, like, how can we detect those problems? Like what are the different steps through which we can find out those problems? And then next is, what can we do about these problems? So what can we do? How do we solve those problems? So that is what are the three important questions which we have, which we need to answer to convert our data to a good quality data. So examples of good quality problems, like some of the problems, okay, which might be there within the data is like noise and outliers. We have to first see if there is any noise or outliers within the data. We have to see if there is any missing value within the data. We have to see if there is any duplicate data. So all these are some of the examples of good quality problems. So first thing is identifying the problems within the data set, then detecting those problems, and then trying to solve those problems. So now here first we'll be looking into incomplete or missing data. So this is one important part in data cleaning. So first, whenever we get a data, there might be some incomplete or missing values within the data set. So how do we fill up those gaps? So that is also one of the most important things. So what happens is, in real time scenarios, like whenever we collect data, data is not always available. Example, many tuples have no recorded value for several attributes. Tuples are nothing but, here in case of data mining or statistics, tuple is just a record. So like whenever we get a data, few of the records might not have certain attribute values. Like here if you see, like customer income in sales data, suppose we have a sales data and here income of that customer is missing. So we have, like, if you look at this data, we have the income for Mike, but the Jenny income is missing. Jenny's income is missing here. So sometimes this is what happens, like some few of the data might not be available to us. So we have to figure out what might be this income for Jenny. Suppose income is an important field and we have to analyze this income, and Jenny's income is missing. So what do we do about it? So missing data like might come due to equipment malfunction, while uh, like getting the entry, like entering something to the database, there is a equipment malfunction for which this might have occurred, or inconsistent within with other recorded data and thus deleted. Somebody just deleted it because they didn't find it to be matching with some other data. data not entered due to misunderstanding. Sometimes the data is not entered due to misunderstanding. Next is certain data may not be considered important at the time of entry, like somebody just entered the data but thought income is not an important field to enter. Not register history or changes of the data. So like history data might be different, the new data might be different. There's a lot of change within the new data selection strategy and the earlier data selection strategy, for which the earlier data are having a lot of missing values. So these are all reasons for which we might get into missing data. So this missing data may need to be inferred. So we have to work around this. We might have to find out what are those values. So that's where we have to do missing value imputation. So how do we handle this missing data? So what are the different steps? So first is we can ignore the tuple. We can ignore the tuple means we can ignore the record. Tuple is nothing but the record in statistical language. So we can just simply ignore that. So usually done when class label is missing when doing classification, but this is not effective when the percentage of missing values per attribute varies considerably. So usually what usually people do is they will just ignore that record. They will not consider it within the classification. So this is not effective strategy, because when there is like the percentage of missing value per attribute, actually what happens, it varies considerably. So that's where like this will not be that much effective. Next is fill in the missing value manually. Now also the other strategy what can be applied is like filling up those values, filling up those missing value, understanding okay what might be that value, what might be that income. So by understanding all the other attributes, like what is the gender, that is the sex, male or female, what is the age, by understanding all those and then relating it to the entire data set and figuring out okay what might be that income. So that is what is filling missing value. But manually doing this is tedious and infeasible. Like if we have a bigger data set with almost 100,000 records, it will be very difficult for us to fill up those. So that's where like filling up missing value manually is a tedious process, but that's also some of the statisticians also do that. The next is filling in it automatically with a global constant, that is an unknown value. Like suppose we don't have a value and we just have to fill up all the missing values saying unknown. So that also we can do. It's like filling up by taking a global constant value, either unknown or taking a new class, a new categorical value, and just filling up those saying null value or not important, not recommended. So like that we can just fill up some constant value. The other one is filling the value, the attribute by taking the attribute mean. Suppose we have a data like age and there is some values missing within the age. So we can take like what is the average of age, and wherever there is a missing value of age, we can just fill up that average. So that is what attribute mean we can take and fill up. The other one is tuple mean. Tuple mean is nothing but this will be applicable when we have similar kind of columns, similar kind of attributes. We can take the entire record mean and we can fill it up. Then the next one is the most probable value, just finding out what might be the most probable value. So in this case we can use like decision tree or Bayesian statistics, Bayesian formulas, and we can just fill up the most probable value. Or else we can also understand the other columns which are there, like age values and sex value, like gender values, and we can just figure out okay what might be that income value here by taking into consideration or by referring the other attributes which are there within the data set. So these are various ways through which we can handle missing data. So we'll be looking into this, like going ahead we will see this in Python, like in other chapters, in other sessions. I will be looking at how do we do missing value imputation in Python and all. Now the next problem is noisy data. So our data might also have noise. So noise is nothing but a random error or variance in a measured variable. Suppose there is a high variability for few of the values, or there is some error within the values. Like as we saw earlier, like salary, a negative value in salary, it might be a noise, like just a error or a variance, high variance. Now, what are the problems which might have caused this noisy data? That's what like we have to first figure out. Then the reasons might be incorrect attribute values, maybe due to faulty data collection instrument. So here also it might tend because of the faulty data collection. data entry problems, data transmission problems, or technology limitation. It is not able to compute properly, it is not able to calculate, and it entered a wrong value. Inconsistency in naming convention, while naming the data somebody named it incorrectly. So these all things might be a problem for noisy data, can tend to noisy data. So how do we handle this noisy data? So we can handle this noisy data by a process called as binning. So there are different things in binning, like equal partitioning binning, equal frequency binning, smoothing the data by bin means. So we can smooth the data by bin means or bin median or bin boundaries, like that. So these are certain steps like through which uh, we can just bring the data to a smooth format, like through which we can remove the noise. And the other one is regression. Regression is like smoothing the data by fitting the data into regression functions. There is something called as regression analysis, predictive modeling technique. Using regression techniques also, we can actually remove the noise within the data. And also there is something called as clustering technique, that is like detecting and removing outliers. Outliers can also tend to a noise within the data. We have already seen outlier detection and all in the earlier sessions. So removing the outliers, detecting and removing the outliers, we can also use clustering technique for that. Then combined computer and human inspection, that is detecting suspicious values and checked by human. Example, dealing with possible outliers. So like where basically like we can write some programs, some functions, and we can try to understand if there is a noise within the data by using computer, and then inspecting the data manually to see if there is any suspicious values within the data set. So these are the steps through which we can handle noisy data. Now looking at this binning technique, binning is nothing but it's also called as discretization. So discretization method is this binning method. So there are multiple binning method like equal width partitioning, or this is also called as distance partitioning. So what happens here? It divides the range into n intervals of equal size. That is a uniform grid. Suppose we have multiple datas, like 1,000 values are there. So this n is nothing but suppose that 1,000 value we have to break it down to 100 value each. So that means we'll be having 10 records. So this divides the range into n intervals. We have to tell okay how many intervals we want. Then if a and b are the lowest and highest value, we have to pick the lowest and highest value from the attribute. Then the width of the interval will be given by this formula, that is w equal to b minus a divided by n. So that is b is the highest value, a is the lowest value, divided by the interval size. So this is the most straightforward, but outliers may dominate presentation. Here we might get outliers, but this is a straightforward technique. So what happens here, we will just divide the data into equal width. We'll just partition the data. Suppose we have 1,000 data, we'll just do 10 equal partitions, saying 100 records in each partition. So that's one process of discretization, which is called as equal width partitioning. Here there are certain problems, like we might get outliers within the data also. Skewed data is not handled well, like when we do equal width partitioning. The other one is equal depth partitioning, that is like frequency partitioning. This is like divides the range into n intervals, each containing approximately same number of samples. So every sample size should be same. This is good. This is like basically used for data scaling. It's very good for data scaling and all. So now looking at okay, how do we do this binning? So first, like suppose we have some data, like this is like sorted data for price in dollars. It's like sorted, and here we see 4 is the minimum value, 34 is the highest value. Suppose we want to do equal frequency binning or equal depth binning. This is also called as equal depth binning. That means each of the sample, each of the bin should have equal number of data. Okay, sample size should be same. So in that case, like what we have to do is like we have to take the total data, and like suppose we have to do three bins, then we divide it by 3. So here, like suppose we are getting 4 for each of the samples, so we have to take 4, like 4 record for each of the bin. So this is called as smoothing of data, like taking the bins so that we can see if there are any maximum value or minimum value within the data. Also, it's just a process of smoothing, we can say. So here first data is first bin is 4895 915, next is 21 21 24 25, then 26 28 29 34, like that. So three bins are there. We can also smooth the data by bin mean, that is taking the average of the data. That is first one, bin 1 is nothing but 9, that is the average. Next is 23 is the average for the next one. Third one, mean is nothing but 29. So we can take like this also bins. We can also take we can also smooth the data by bin boundaries. So that is taking the boundary values. Like if we look at bin 1, we have 4 as the minimum and max is 15. So we can take minimum boundary and we can only fill up our data by the minimum or maximum values. So this is also one more way to smooth the data. We can either take 4 4 15 15, or we can take 4 like all 4 then 15, like that. So similarly, it's up to us, like how do we select. So boundary is nothing but taking up the minimum and maximum value only within the selection. And bin mean is taking the mean values. There is also smoothing by bin median, where we can take the median values. So based on the type of problem we have, based on the noise we have within the data, we can just think of, okay, which binning we can take to understand the data further. So this is like binning methods for data smoothing. This is also called as discretization method. Next is duplicate data. How do we understand if there is any duplicate data? How do we find out if there is any duplicate data? So duplicate data is nothing but data set may include data objects that are duplicates or almost duplicate of one another. So this happens like major issue when merging data from heterogeneous sources. Like when we are collecting the data from different sources, we might get into duplicated records. Example is same person with multiple email address. Person is same but having multiple email addresses. So first we have to understand what might be the reason for this, and then we have to deal with this data. That is data cleaning we have to do for duplicated data also. That is the process of dealing with duplicated data issues. So now here this is mostly duplicated data are just seen manually, or we can just write Python functions to understand those. So what we saw till now is one is noisy data handling, missing value handling. Noisy data, if we have noisy data, how can we figure out those? How can we see those noise value and how do we deal with that? So basically outlier is also a noise, like how do we remove that outlier? Uh, outlier is a little bit different than noise. Noise is completely wrong value. Outlier might be a right value but which is far from the data. And dealing with outlier is also one of the important thing, and understanding if there is any noise, like when we are doing binning, we can just find out if there is any noise within the data. We can just see within binning also while smoothing the data, or regression processes we can use, or clustering techniques we can use. Regression clustering anyways we are going to cover in the later part. And we can also do human inspection, like we can just inspect and just find out if there is any noise within the data. Next is duplicated records. If we have duplicate data, we just have to see if the values are duplicate. We can write some Python functions. We can just see if a few of the things are matching but having duplicated values. So that's where we can handle those. So now if you look at this particular data set, so any problem is there with this data or not, suppose we have to figure out. So what all problems are there within this data? Now, if you look at this data, it says, okay, name, then some age, then date of first by, profession, date of birth, like that. So now here, if you look at this particular data, we see a missing value in profession. You can clearly see there is a missing value. So this is the first problem which is there with this data. Next is format of date of first by and date of birth are different. One is having in the DD, and this is mm, that is month and year. The other one is month, date and year. So here basically the formats are very different. So one is date, month, year, the other one is month, date, year. So we have to bring this data to proper format. We have to standardize this data. So it needs standardization. Next one is row 1 and 3 are potentially duplicated records. Like we can see here, row 1 is having this record Bill Gates, and row 3 is having this record William Gates. But when we look at this record, It is very same. Like Bill Gates age is 34, 15 Jan 2015 is date of first buy, profession is engineer, date of birth is Feb 24 1981. For William Gates also it is exactly same values. Now this is nothing but this might be a duplicated records because name is also matching to some extent. So now row 1 and row 3 are potentially duplicate data here. Next one is both age and date of birth are sorted. Age is a derived attribute. Now, sorry, both age and date of birth are stored. Age is a derived attribute. So that means like both are similar. Age is a derived attribute of date of birth. Suppose we are doing some study. If we use date of birth or if we use age, both are giving similar kind of information. Age is just a derived one from date of birth. If I know the date of birth of someone, I don't need age. If I know the age of someone, I might not need date of birth. So here like there is these two similar kind of columns. Then the next one is inconsistent format for name. Few of the names are missing first or last names. Like we can see here, Bill Gates is there, John is there, then nothing is there. William Gates is there. Okay, so this might be a reason that few of the names are just having, they are just having one single name. They don't have a surname or something like that. So, but still we have to see if there is any inconsistency within the name. Is it missing few of the things? Next is entity identification issues. Also here, like we have entity identification issues and all. Also we can see here like profession, engineer ENGR small in letter and here ENGR capital in letter. So uppercase and lowercase, all these also matters. So these all things also we have to see within the data set. So next process is data integration. So there is something called as data integration. So task of data integration is nothing but combining data from multiple sources into a coherent store. So now it's like collecting the data from multiple sources. So challenges due to semantic heterogeneity and structure of data, we might get some challenges that is like entity identification problem. This might arise due to schema integration of metadata from different source. Like whenever we are collecting data from different source, the information of metadata is nothing but data about data. So if like we are collecting the data from different source and due to the different type of schemas and all, we might get into entity identification problems. Also, like are any attributes correlated? We might get redundant values. Like there might not be any correlation within the data. There might be tuple duplication. Tuple duplication is nothing but record duplication, and detecting and resolving data value conflicts. We have to also find out if there is any value conflict. So these are all problems like or challenges which we might face when we are doing data integration, like when we are integrating data from multiple sources to one coherent source. So first is entity identification issue. So entity identification issue is like how can equivalent real world entities from multiple data sources be matched up? Like suppose we have an entity as customer ID in one database and customer number is in another database. So these both are same thing. Customer ID in one database is equal to customer number in the other database. So entities, both of these entities are same, but the name is different. So here we have to identify that they are same things. So we can clearly say here, okay, customer ID, customer number is nothing but same thing. But when we look at a data set, we have to figure out if there is any such entity which is matching. Then use of metadata. We can use metadata also to understand this, that is data about data, which gives us some information about that entity. Suppose there is a customer ID in one database and there is customer number in another database. Somebody has already explained like what is customer ID in one database, in other database also somebody has given an explanation of that entity. So that is nothing but metadata. Metadata is like data about this data, like what is this customer number, there is a data for that also. So if we use that, we can just avoid errors in schema integration. Like when we are integrating these schemas, we can avoid the errors and it will be easier for us to transform the data. So that's where entity identification is also one of the important aspects. Next is handling redundancy within the data set. Redundant data occur often when integration of multiple databases are happening. That is like in data integration, we will be getting data, like it might give us the redundancy. There might be redundant data. So in that case, we can also do object identification. That is, the same attribute or object may have different names in different databases. So that's what we have to identify. Derivable data, one attribute may be derived attribute in another table, like as we saw age and date of birth. Okay, so like that. So that also we have to see. Example is also annual revenue might be a derived attribute. Then careful integration of the data from multiple sources may help reduce or avoid redundancies and inconsistencies and improve mining speed and quality of the data. So that's why careful integration is very, very important to handle data redundancy while integrating the data. Redundancies can also be detected by correlation analysis. We can also detect redundancy by correlation analysis. Suppose given two attributes, such analysis can measure how strongly one attribute implies the other based on the available data. Like for nominal data, we can use chi-square test to analyze the correlation among the data. That is chi-square test of association or test of independence. The other one is for numerical attributes, we can use the correlation coefficient, Pearson's correlation coefficient, or covariance to understand the relationship between the data. So that is like how one attribute is varying from the other attribute, or how they are related with one another. So that's where also we can detect if there is any redundancy within the data by doing this correlation analysis. Next is data transformation. Data transformation, one is like smoothing, that is removing noise from the data. Other one is aggregation, that is summarizing the data, summarization of the data. And the other one is generalization, that is concept hierarchy climbing, that is like this is a process through which we can generalize, we can understand okay how everything is related with one another. And normalization of data, this is a very important step, normalization in data transformation, that is scale to fall within a small specified range. So we can scale our data so that it falls within a small specified range. Suppose we have data, like suppose we have some values which is starting from some minimum to very higher values like maximum values. There is a very big range within the data. We can just reduce it. We can just bring the data to unit scale or some kind of scale by using this normalization techniques. This is also called as feature scaling, like scaling our features. There are three normalization technique. One is mean max normalization, the other one is z-score normalization, and normalization by decimal scaling. So these are the three processes for normalizing the data. Then data transformation, next technique is like attribute or feature construction, that is new attribute constructed from the given ones. So we can just construct new features based on the requirement. Suppose we need some new attributes, we can just create new attributes by using the existing attributes or existing features. So these are some of the techniques like which are there, and like we might be using this based on the type of data we have, based on the problem we have. So now we'll look into data transformation. Like how do we transform our data? That is normalization. We'll see normalization or feature scaling of data. So there are three different processes for normalizing the data. We can use any of this. So there are basically three different processes. One is mean max normalization. Mean max is just deciding what should be the minimum value and what should be the maximum value, and then normalizing the entire data to that mean or max value. So normalizing the entire data to this new range of mean and max. So here we have to decide what is the new minimum and what is the new maximum. So suppose we have this let income range 12,000 to 98,000 be normalized to 0.0 and 1.0. Suppose there is income range of people, and that is the minimum income range is $12,000 and the maximum is $98,000. And suppose there is an income value as $73,000, and we have to bring all the income values within 0 and 1, 0.0 and 1.0. Suppose we have to bring up all the income values within this particular range. So this is our new mean and new max. So how do we bring up to this? So for that, this is the mean max normalization formula which is given. That is the new value. To find out that normalized value is given as v dash is given as value minus mean of a divided by max of A minus mean of A. So that is nothing but the value which we want to normalize. We have to take that is 73,000. Suppose we want to normalize 73,000. We want to bring up this 73,000 to a scale of 0.0 to 1.0. So we'll take that value of 73,000 minus the mean of the data. Mean of the data is 12,000 is the minimum value. Max of the data is 98,000 is the maximum value, minus mean is again 12,000. So that's what we have taken here. After that, what we have to do is we have to take the new max. We have to multiply this with the new max minus new mean plus new mean. So that is new max is 1.0, new mean is 0.0 plus new mean is 0.0. So this is how we have to put the values to normalize the data. So once we normalize, this 73,000 became 0.716 within the scale of 0 to 1. So like that, suppose we have 100 values and we want to normalize those 100 values or 100 records within this salary or income attribute, then we can normalize each of the value to 0 and 1 scale by using this formula, that is mean max normalization. This is one of the very important thing whenever we are working with any kind of data, because this will help us out in feature scaling the data into proper scale, so that it will be easier to compute and understand. Next is z-score normalization. There is one more process for normalization. It is called as z-score normalization. So z-score normalization is we have to take a mean value, standard deviation. So this is the formula. This is the formula for z-score. We have to take the value minus mu of that value. That is the mean of the value. Mean of A is nothing but mean of this value of the record divided by standard deviation of the record. That is like, suppose we have standard deviation of 54,000 and we have a mean of 54,000 and standard deviation of 16,000. So using this formula, we can just write it like this. Suppose we have to convert this 73,000 is our value which we want to convert. So we will take 73,600 is the value. Suppose we will take 73,600 minus mu value is 54,000 divided by standard deviation, which is nothing but 16,000. So this is also one way through which we can normalize by using this z-score normalization technique. So this is one way to normalize, and the other one is mean max normalization. And one more technique is there, that is normalizing by decimal scaling. That is just dividing the data by a decimal point factor. That is like 10 to the power j. J is the smallest integer, such as the maximum value of v is less than 1. So suppose we want to normalize this data to suppose scale of 5. So we can take 10 to the power 5, so that we can normalize the data to the decimal point. So this is just dividing the value divided by 10 to the power 5 or 10 to the power 4 based on till what value we want to normalize. So these are three techniques through which we can normalize the data. This is data transformation techniques. Now the next one is data reduction technique. Now this is also one important thing in data pre-processing, that is data reduction. So this data reduction obtain a reduced representation of the data set that is much smaller in volume, but yet produces almost same analytical results. So it's like reducing the data to a format like where the volume will be decreased, but the data will convey the similar kind of information. That is like, suppose we have 100 columns within a data set, we have 100 attributes within a data set. We can just reduce it to like 10 attributes instead of 100. So we are reducing in volume, we are reducing in size, but the information will still be same. That's what data reduction can do. So why we need data reduction? Because like long time to run on the complete data set, like suppose we have complete data, bigger amount of data of higher volume. Now to run that data, to analyze that data, to process that data, it might take longer time. So we can just reduce the data size, that is by data reduction. Next one is reduce the storage space. Data reduction can help us out in storing the data in a less space. So the space of the data, the memory space consumed by the data will be reduced if we reduce this volume of the data. So that will help us out in reducing the storage space required. Then speed of processing will increase, like it can process faster. Suppose we are using a machine learning model or a statistical technique, data mining technique to process the data, it will be much faster. And it removes redundant features. Also, data reduction technique, what they do is, like, while reducing the data, they will remove the redundant features. So while reducing the data, the reduction techniques used to analyze the correlation, the relationship between the data, how they are related with one another, and that by it sees, okay, the data which are very far, which are very different, where like outliers, unique values, noise values, those also gets removed. So it removes redundant features also. So these are some of the things why we need data reduction. Now, data reduction techniques, if we see data reduction strategies, how do we do this data reduction? So there is something called as dimensionality reduction, and this example, removing unimportant attributes. So for that we use this dimensionality reduction. So dimensionality reduction is nothing but reducing the dimension of the data. That is, like, we have multiple row dimension or column dimension, we can just reduce it by dimensionality reduction. Now, dimensionality reduction techniques are there, like wavelet transform techniques are there, through which we can do dimensionality reduction. Principal component analysis is there. Feature or attribute subset selection technique is there. So these are various techniques through which we can do dimensionality reduction. There are many more techniques, like linear discriminant analysis, generalized discriminant analysis. There are various techniques which are there for dimensionality reduction. These are few of the most known or important ones. We are also going to study all this, like in the coming sessions we will be studying dimensionality reduction, how to do that, how do we use Python to do that, all those we'll be looking at. Next is numericity reduction. We can simply call it as data reduction. So this numericity reduction is nothing but we can use regression techniques or log linear models for reducing the data. This is numericity reduction techniques. Or we can use histograms, clustering, sampling, or data cube aggregation techniques also we can do to reduce the data. And there are certain data compression techniques through which, like usually, we can compress the data. So this is all about this session. So we just saw how do we do data pre-processing. So we just analyzed different things, like what might be the problems within the data. That is, we can have incomplete data, noisy data, inconsistent data, duplicate records. How do we say that data is of quality? So we do data pre-processing to bring up our data to a quality data format. And major tasks also which are there within this, how do we do incomplete data, like missing value data, how do we detect those, what might be the reasons which can create this kind of problem, like missing value data and all, and how do we handle this missing value data. So we just had an understanding of how to work around with those. What is a noisy data, how do we handle those noisy data, that's also we saw how to handle the noisy data. Binning technique, we just discussed about regression, clustering techniques and all. Next is discretization method, that is nothing but binning, how do we do the binning. Then next comes duplicate data, there might be this problem also when we get initial data, there might be duplicated records, and we just understood how do we analyze those duplicated records. Next is, we just took an example to see if there is any problem within the data and how do we detect, are we able to find out the problems. Next, we looked into data integration problems, entity identification, and handling the redundancy. While doing data integration, various techniques to handle redundancies. And then we looked into data transformation, how do we transform the data to a good quality data. And we also discussed about normalization techniques which are there. These techniques are basically used to normalize this data or scaling the data. So there are various normalization techniques like min max normalization. This is the commonly used one is min max, and z score, these are commonly used one. And decimal scaling is one of the easiest one, just dividing the data by a decimal scale, uh, by a scaling factor. So that is what is we can do in normalization. And then we discussed about data reduction techniques and different techniques which are there, and why do we need data reduction, what kind of benefit did we get from data reduction is what we discussed. and then we discuss about data reduction techniques and all. So this is all about data pre-processing. In the upcoming sessions, we will see how do we do this data pre-processing using Python. Okay, thank you for attending this session.